Hi there, Phil Simborg for the USBGF. Today's video is about a lot of things, but let me just start out by saying it's mostly about how to improve your game, the best way to learn. And let's just take a hypothetical. Let's pretend that you have 2 hours a week to study backgammon. That's about 100 hours a year. And let's pretend that you do what most people do. When you're really studying the game, you'll read a book, read an article or two, and you'll probably get online and play and then maybe analyze your matches or play some against Extreme Gammon and analyze your matches. And I'm willing to bet you that if you did that religiously for a couple of hours a week, you would probably improve your game quite a bit. Maybe, let's just take a wild guess, maybe your game would be 10% better if you did that. Of course, it depends on how well you study, how well you apply it, and how you remember things, and there's all kinds of variables. But let's just pretend that you're a person that, based on that, would improve about 10%. Your PR rating, your error rate, your ability to play, and your overall performance measured would be 10% better. Well, I'm willing to bet you that instead of spending those 2 hours playing against XG and analyzing matches and going and looking at your errors and seeing what you did wrong and trying to figure out what the right play is and why and trying to remember it, I'm willing to bet you that if you spent that same amount of time concentrating on individual areas of the game one by one until you improve it, that by the end of the year, if you would have improved 10% the other method, you would probably improve quite close to 30%. Or at least double by using the method of looking at each area one by one. If you did nothing but study bearing off until you felt comfortable with it, bearing in until you felt comfortable with it, working on just blitzing games, just on your cube action for back games and holding games, and then just your checker play if you're defending a back game, and do it one by one, I guarantee you, and I know this from many students. I've had over 200 students. I've got close to 70 students right now. I know this from my own experience, and I know this from talking to other greats in this game, people who have achieved great success, that's how they attain success. If you look at the people that skyrocketed in this game, like Stick and Matt Cohn-Geyer are the most recent ones that I can think of that just came out of nowhere and became among the better players in the world. They will tell you that that's how they study, that's how they learn, and it's not an accident that it worked. So why am I showing you this position? Why am I talking about it? That's what I'm doing. I have picked out holes in my game, weaknesses in my game, and approached them in a methodical manner, and my game is steadily improving. I don't know if it's improving 10 or 30% a year. I doubt if it's anywhere near that much because I'm getting better, and the better you get, the lower the percentages. But whatever it is, it's still going to be much higher doing it this way. But I made a real mistake in a match not that long ago in a position like this. I didn't double at the right time, and I didn't play the checkers well. So what did I do? Instead of just studying that one position, I'm really working on all these kinds of positions. As a matter of fact, it helps my students as well because what I'm doing, I'm passing on to my students. Let's take this position. I'm holding the cube, and I've got it set for a money game, but I also will set it for different scores to make sure I get it right. But in a money game, do I have a redouble here? I'm red holding the cube. Some people might redouble here. Some people might drop here. It's not even close to a redouble, and it's a huge take in this particular configuration. Now, if he had fewer checkers off, if I had checkers further around, if the 5-pointer wasn't open and the 2-point or 1-point was open, that could change the whole thing. I mean, all those things will have a very clear effect on whether it's a doubler or a redoubler or a take. You take these two checkers and put them here, and now it's still a big take. And it's still not a redouble, but it's close. How do I know that? Because, again, I've studied this position, but I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I can study it some more. Again, it's right on the edge of a redouble and still a big take. By the way, against a human being, this might be a great redouble because you might get a drop. If you can only get a drop 7% of the time, that's great. So if this isn't a redouble, when does it become a redouble? What I do is I'm not worrying about checker play. First, I really want to understand the cube action. At what point Do I have a redouble? Well, it's all about the builders. It's all about the race. It's all about his odds of coming in. Let's just say that I roll something that, let's say I put a checker here. Do I have a redouble now? By the way, I'm going to go back to the original position and hit Control C so it's saved and I can go back there. What do you think about now? Now he dances. Now it's my roll. Uh, I'm still down 25 pips in the race. I still have to worry like crazy that for the next 2 or 3 rolls he comes in with a 5. He's got 4 checkers off. Maybe I have a redouble if he has fewer checkers off. Let's see about that. That's another way to test it. First of all, again, I don't think I have a redouble. And again, let's give him 1 checker off. Let's see what happens if he has only 1 checker off. What do you think now? Do you think it would be a redouble now with 1 checker off and 1 on the bar? Give it some thought. It's not even a take. Now he hasn't got a take at all. So at what point does he have a take? Does he have to have 2 checkers off, 3 checkers off? Where's the cutoff? When does he have a take? Learning these things is critical. Believe it or not, with 2 checkers off, he has a pretty good sized take. That's a huge difference between 1 checker off and 2 checkers off. How am I supposed to know this stuff? How can you possibly know this stuff? The only way is trial and error, testing yourself, developing rules of thumb, looking at the pip count, looking at the number of checkers off, and getting a feel for this. I don't think you could possibly memorize every single position, and I don't think there's a really good formula that guarantees that you're going to get the right cube action, because you take the same pip count and you redistribute these checkers, and maybe it's not even a double, or maybe it's not even a take. If the point is slotted, who knows where you are then if the point is slotted? And what about the slotting of the point? So this is how I attack this position until I'm very comfortable knowing when it's a redouble, and then I want to see if it's a redouble if the score is 4-away, 4-away, when his take point is 33% on the recube, when it's 5-away, 5-away, when his take point is 25%. By the way, putting it at these different scores helps remind me of what the take points are on the recube at these different scores. So I get good at match play as well, and I know when I have a recube. Now, after I've learned when I have a recube and really studied that well, let me put it back to the original position, that's going to help me understand how to play the checkers. Okay, so I don't have a recube here. How do I play a 4-1? How would you play a 4-1 here? I'm giving you some time to think. Okay, so the obvious question is, do you slot with a 4-1? Would you slot the 5-point or not? That's the first question to ask. And then if you decide you do, then it's fairly easy to figure out where to play it. If you're going to slot, you obviously slot with the 1 and give yourself 3 covers and a 6 cover and bring it down to here. If you're not slotting the 5-point, then you have to figure out what you think is the best play. So first of all, would you slot or not? Well, the answer is, in this case, you do slot. You desperately need this 5-point in order to win this game, and he's got 2 or 3 rolls to roll a 5 and still bring it home, so it's right to slot the point. So let's say that now I know it's right to slot the point, and let's say I make that play and he doesn't hit me. Now what's the cube action? Did I get to a double because that point is slotted and I'm imminent to make it? Well, that's the reason I slotted. That's one of the major reasons. I can double here. There are some rolls where I can't cover. There's not too many, but it's hard to think of very many that don't cover, by the way. But I guess double 4s doesn't cover, but it lifts. And 4-2 covers. Let's see. It's pretty hard to think of many that don't cover. I guess double 1s, oh, that covers, just about everything covers, but that doesn't matter. The point is you can double them out from here because you're guaranteed to make the point. Whoops, let me put it on cube action, double action, and you double them out. Okay, so you get the idea. Going back to the original position, I'm hitting Control V and putting it back to the original position. Ask yourself how you play non-slotting rolls that wouldn't slot like a 4-2. Do you make this point? Do you keep all 3 blots out? Do you bring something in? Do you throw checkers down? How do you play it? Then take the same position and give them a much better board. And maybe give them 2 checkers off. Or give them a better board with 4 checkers off. And see how you play all of the rolls in the cube action then. Then change it to where the opening is the 3-point. Then do something like this. and see how you play the game now from the outfield. Something like this. When do you have a double? Are you hitting loose? Are you slotting the back of the prime? Are you blocking double sixes? Are you putting the checkers together? You can spend easily a couple of hours just on variations from this one position, and at the end of those couple of hours, you will understand not only how to play this position, but lots and lots of different positions that are similar. And this comes up all the time, where you were in his inner board and hit a checker, and you got one checker. It's called a containment game. So these kinds of containment games come up all the time, and it makes a big difference which of your points is open. It makes a big difference what his board looks like. It makes a big difference whether you're playing a DMP, gammon go, or gammon save. On gammon save, by the way, with that 4-1, you wouldn't have slotted. It's too big a risk to get hit. So you're going to have to give up some chances to win the game to make sure that you don't get gammon. So you use these buttons and quickly change the score to gammon save, to gammon go. Then you see how you play each roll from there, where the cube's not involved, and it's all about how you play in the checkers. Then you maybe put another checker on the board and see what happens, or you take another couple checkers off and see what happens. This is how you learn the game. And then when you're done with this, change the whole position. Change it completely, and maybe open up a 6-point and give them a board that looks more like this, with maybe 4 or 5 checkers off, and then put them back on the bar. Now open up another point. You get the idea. I don't have to tell you all the variables you can put together here. But if you spend an hour doing this, you would learn 10 times as much that would stay with you, that would teach you something about how to play this kind of position than if you played matches and looked at every mistake, all these different kinds of mistakes, all these different checker and cube mistakes that you're likely to make in a typical match, and try and make sense of it in a way that it's going to stay with you. That's going to really teach you something. It just doesn't stick that way. It's not the way to learn. So maybe this will help you a little bit about this position and give you an idea of how to learn the game. You can do the same thing with just about any kind of position. You can, if you're worried about and you're not playing your back games well, then set up a back game. It's real simple. Give them a reasonably well-timed back game and give yourself a prime, and then play the checkers from here. Play every move from here, and see how you would play the checkers. Pardon me. Something like in a game like this. Would you hit him here when you get the chance or not? Are you helping this timing or not? Are you going to overtime him by hitting him? Are you going to slot the back of the prime? Would you slot the back of the prime more quickly if his checker were here? Would you change things at double match point? How differently would you play this at double match point or in a money game or unlimited game by hitting the U? Or if you are playing in a match at a different score, then how would you play it if you're in a match and the score is 5 away, and he's holding the cube? And now his gammon value, what's his gammon value when he's holding the cube at 2? Do you instantly know that the gammon value is 0.655? Good. If you don't, then you can check that. Remind yourself. Go to Analyze. Cube information. Cube on 2. Gammon value 0.655. This is how you learn these things. This is how it will stick, by doing this over and over again for a certain kind of position. I hope this helps you. It's a simple, easy approach that will make you better. It's called a disciplined study, and there's a great saying that I love: every disciplined action brings multiple rewards, and the rewards you will get from this kind of study are really terrific. By the way, one more thing you can do once you get to a position like this is save it. Hit Control-C and play it out against the computer 4 or 5, 6 times. Instead of going through every single roll, do random rolls. See what happens when the random rolls come up and whatever the computer throws at you, and see how you play it out the rest of the game. Don't play it out too far, though, because it could evolve into a totally different kind of game, and you want to stay with learning just how to play a reasonably timed 2-3 back game. By the way, his timing isn't really good enough. He's much better off if he was down about 100 pips. So that's a factor that you might want to keep in mind. And whether or not you're really going to be going for gammons here or the win may be reflective in what the score is and the gammon price. So again, you can do this with just any type of game, and I promise you, you will see great improvement. Not only that, you'll have great confidence in your game. The next time you're in that game where you hit one checker, you'll feel much better about it. You're not making wild guesses about when to double, about whether to slot, about whether to play safe in the outfield, whether to put your checkers together and try and block him from rolling doubles or spread him out so that you have more shots if he comes out. You'll have a lot more confidence in how you play the game, and that will stay with you for years once you learn the basics of each type of game. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was helpful. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.